Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to True Crime Unraveled. Yes, that's one of the little tweaks I have been working on. A new name, but the same person. See, what I want to talk to you guys about tonight is we've been hearing about the alternate suspect defense. Now, here's the ironic part. There was a gentleman, I'm going to call him JCL. He was arrested on December 6th for, let's just say, he was a convicted killer, and he was arrested a mile from the Idaho murder house. But they say he's not a suspect. That's what the NPD says. But he's 39, and he was arrested for allegedly beating his wife and her daughter before cutting himself with a large knife, according to court docs. The police were called to the family's home on Palouse River Drive, found Leonard to be heavily intoxicated after having drank a half a bottle of gin, according to his wife. Now, Leonard stalked his wife through the house with a large knife, also stalked his stepdaughter. He's been placed on probation for 15 years after that. Guess who his defense attorney was? Kathy Mbot. And his charges were domestic violence, battery, traumatic injury, aggravated assault, attempted strangulation, and injury to a child. Now, see, here's the thing with that. If he can do this to his wife and his stepdaughter, what would cause him and not to do that to anybody else? Especially, some college students living in an off-campus home. He screams suspect, even though he's been cleared by the police. Now, what's with the police clearing everybody so quickly? And he was in jail at the same time, mind you, the same time as Brian. He was arrested December 6th. Brian was arrested December 30th. So he might have had some interactions with Brian while incarcerated in Latah County Jail. So it just makes you wonder if he could possibly be this elusive informant that we keep hearing about. Now, they say it's the IGG. That's the informant. But if you look at this guy, 15 years probation on these very serious charges, that just don't add up to me. It really don't. You have a gentleman who was a very violent person, cut himself with a knife. And then you have another gentleman who was a college student over at WU going for his PhD. They say that he was a very how should I say, awkward around girls. Brian was awkward around girls, so they say. What would cause this other gentleman, JCL, who lived a mile away from the King Road house, what would say that he would go up in the house intoxicated? Because he was heavily intoxicated the day he was arrested and the day he did all this stuff to his wife and his stepdaughter. What would stop him from doing that to Kaylee, Maddie, and Xana? Nothing would stop. If he was that drunk and that violent when he was drunk, nothing could stop him. just makes you wonder, makes you think exactly what's actually going on in this investigation, in this crime, that they would let a convicted killer off on 15 years probation. And it just seems kind of ironic. He got the probation right after Brian got to the jail. You put two and two together in this, guys. And of course, we have the coroner, Kathy Mbot, who was the coroner for the Idaho 4. She's his defense attorney. Doesn't that scream to you guys double standard? It makes you wonder exactly what's going on. It really does, guys. And it makes you wonder exactly what Dylan really saw that night. It does. It makes you wonder because we've seen reports, and in the timeline I have on my community page, it shows Brian driving around at the time of this stuff going on. So if it wasn't Brian in the house, this atrocious crime, could it have been JCL in a drunken stupor, knowing where he is, or knowing where he is? Because if he could do this to his wife and his stepdaughter drunk, it clearly shows that when he's drunk, he's a very violent individual. And we go back to what Ann Taylor stated and wondering exactly how they got to her client. Maybe Ann Taylor knows something. Maybe that's why the prosecution is stalling and delaying and everything else, handing over the discovery. Maybe the prosecution knows exactly who the real killer is in this case, and they're trying to protect him. And they're using Brian as the patsy. It just makes you wonder. It actually makes you want to think. Could there be, in this case, an alternate suspect that's being protected by the prosecution? You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, they have the right guy in Brian. Oh, they this, they that." Just stop and think. Stop and think. Could they not have the right guy? Could the prosecution be defending the actual killer, hiding him because he could be the informant everyone's talking about, the potential informant? December 6th, he was arrested. Brian got arrested on December 30th. So this guy, JCL, would have been in jail with Brian. And I just kind of wonder exactly if that is the case, what they talked about. And did JCL go to the guards, or did he? Because there are jailhouse snitches that will go to the guards, go to the police, trying to get an advantage for themselves. But isn't it really odd though? 15 years of probation for how serious his crimes were. I think it stinks. I smell, I smell cover up on the prosecution side, cover up with the MPD. I mean, why are you going to give a convicted killer 15 years probation unless he struck a deal because he claimed he knew something? I have, yeah, in my stints in my stint in prison, I have never heard of anybody getting 15 years probation. Now there was 4 years probation or 1 year's probation or 2 or 3, but a lot of those probations were like marijuana charges or like petty stuff, petty misdemeanors. But I've never heard of 15 years probation for, yeah, for attempted strangulation, domestic violence battery with traumatic injury, aggravated assault, and injury to a child. That's just wow. Yeah, just retired FBI Special Agent Michael Harrington, who's not taking part in the Moscow murder investigations, was interviewed by News Nation about the possible reasons that have led Moscow police ruling out uh, JCL as a suspect in the stabbing of the 4 students. He said that investigators would have easily ruled Leonard out of a list of possible suspects if they knew the man was somehow somewhere else at the time of the murders. Now, the department has not yet identified a suspect in investigations almost 4 weeks after the murders. Well, exactly what was Leonard's alibi that night? Does he have an alibi? If he's drunk the night of the killings, it just and if he's drunk and he's doing this to his wife, stepdaughter, nothing would stop him from doing this to somebody else in a drunken stupor, living a mile from the King Road home. He's more, I think he's more of a viable suspect than Brian. I really do. Living a mile from the crime scene, and you got Brian over in another state at WSU. You know, the police have ruled him out, and they've ruled JCL out. Which I think was a mistake. I honestly do. I think it was a huge mistake ruling this guy out after what he did to his wife and his stepdaughter. Yeah, a mile away on Palouse River Drive. And what exactly? Where were they looking for video surveillance evidence at the police? Palouse River Drive was one of them. So they must have known something. If you have the police doing a video surveillance canvas of all these places, first one was Palouse River Drive. It just makes you wonder. It really does. It makes you wonder what the police know and why on that day and Taylor was asking Brett Payne about the video canvas, and Brett Payne had to admit that they did not spot Brian's car on any of those surveillance cameras in the canvas. And of course, you have the Elantra over in Oregon that was wrecked, and the tags were missing. There's something very nefarious going on in this case. Something that that they don't want anybody knowing about. Now I'm talking about the MPD, because for 2 months before the murders, they were harassing those kids on a daily for noise complaints. Noise complaints. And you had that one daytime noise complaint, and when they were at that one house down the street from 1122. And then there was no noise at all coming from 1122. And they walked up the street towards 1122 because they wanted to harass those kids. There was no noise, there was no radio, there was no speaker going on. There was no music, nothing. And of course, you had that officer, either he was scanning Kay's ID or he was taking a picture of it. And of course, you had Hunter Johnson sitting out there on the couch outside. But that was a very bogus noise complaint that day. They need to look at alternate suspects. And I know my brother AR has talked about this. They need to look at alternate suspects, because you never know. Somebody on 15 years probation could be hiding secrets that he doesn't want anyone to know about. Yeah, because I've been researching this guy, and then I was sitting down thinking earlier this evening. He lived a mile away from the home. He committed a murder before, and he was released. Yeah, he was released early for it. He attacked his wife and his stepdaughter, stalked them through the house with a very large knife, cut himself. He was arrested. Kathy Mbot, the coroner, was his attorney, which stinks. That reeks of something. And then for these crimes, domestic violence battery with traumatic injury, aggravated assault, he tried to kill his wife, attempted strangulation, and injury to a child, which normally would get you 20 to 30 years in prison. You'd go away for a long time on those charges. 15 years probation. That's not justice. And that was a plea deal. Exactly what did he know to get such a sweet deal? I want to say thank you to everybody who supports me in this channel, and I hope you like the new name, True Crime Unraveled. And this is Robert, and y'all have a very good night. And think about what I said. Sorry, wife had to talk to me for a minute. But yeah, I hope y'all's enjoy uh, the new uh, the new channel. It's gonna be the same content, and I want you guys to you just think about what I said. Leave your thoughts down in the comments, and I want to thank everyone who supports me. Kiki, AR, and I hope everyone has a good night. And this is True Crime Unraveled, and I'm out. Peace.